Smoke rose slowly into the dark sky, making the air heavy and hard to breathe. Laser fire cut through the ruined buildings, lighting the shadows with bright red and blue streaks. The ground shook again and again as artillery from both armies hit the broken metal streets of planet Vorax. In the middle of this chaos, a lone human soldier named Ethan Hale took cover behind a fallen steel beam. His hands were shaking slightly as he checked the charge of his rifle. He was tired, dirty, and running low on energy, but he kept fighting because he had no choice. War did not care if someone was ready or not, it only demanded more. Ethan took a slow breath and tried to calm his racing heartbeat. He listened for enemy footsteps, for the crack of a plasma rifle, for anything that could mean danger. But instead, he heard something soft and unexpected. A voice, smooth like warm light, whispered behind him. "Still alive, human soldier." Ethan froze. He knew that voice. He had heard it before, months ago, when he was assigned to a peace negotiation mission. It belonged to Princess Lyra of the Vorax Empire. A mysterious alien princess with glowing silver eyes and a strange, teasing smile. A smile that always made him lose focus, even when he tried not to. Slowly, Ethan turned his head. There she was, standing only a few steps away from him. Her long white hair floated slightly as if touched by a gentle wind that did not exist. Her eyes glowed softly in the dim light, watching him closely. She looked completely calm, as if the war around them did not matter at all. As if explosions and gunfire were just background noise to her. "Princess Lyra," Ethan whispered, unable to hide his surprise. "You should not be here." She tilted her head and smiled in a playful way. "Why not?" she said, her voice light and teasing. "You seem happy to see me." Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but the words refused to come out. He felt a strange warm feeling spread through his mind, the same feeling he always had when she spoke. Her voice was gentle but carried something deeper, something that touched the center of his thoughts. It was almost hypnotic. Almost dangerous. Ethan shook his head hard, trying to focus. "We are in the middle of a war zone," he said slowly. "You could get killed, and you are distracting me." She took one small step closer. Her eyes shimmered like liquid silver. "I know," she whispered. "And yet, you still look at me instead of your enemies." Ethan felt his chest tighten. How could she speak like that while soldiers were dying all around them? How could she smile while the world was burning? He forced himself to look away, to check the battlefield again. But for a moment nothing made sense. The sounds felt far away, the danger felt distant, and even the fear inside him felt soft and light. It was like her presence pushed everything else out of his mind. It scared him more than the war did. "What are you doing here?" Ethan asked again, this time with more strength in his voice. "Your people and my people are trying to kill each other." Princess Lyra looked at him with a sad, almost lonely expression. "The war is not what it seems," she whispered. "And I came to warn you." Before Ethan could ask what she meant, a sharp alarm beeped in his helmet. Enemy troops were moving near his location. He should have heard their footsteps earlier. He should have seen them on his radar. But he did not. Because she distracted him. He looked at her with shock. "You kept me from noticing them." Lyra did not answer at first. Instead, she raised her hand and pointed toward the shadows behind Ethan. "Look," she said softly. Ethan turned and saw the shapes of Vorax soldiers moving through the smoke. They were getting close, too close. If he had reacted even 1 minute later, he would have been dead. His heart jumped. He grabbed his weapon and pressed his back against the steel beam. "What do they want?" he whispered. "Are they here for you?" Princess Lyra's expression changed. The teasing smile faded, replaced by a serious, troubled look. "They are not here for me," she said quietly. "They are here for you." Ethan felt a cold shock run through his chest. "Me," he whispered. "Why would the Vorax army want me?" She stepped closer until she stood right beside him. Her voice lowered into a soft whisper. Because you know something important, even if you do not realize it yet. Ethan tried to understand her words, but his mind kept going blank whenever she spoke. It felt like she was pulling his attention with a gentle thread, controlling where his thoughts went. Stop doing that, he said, trying to resist. Stop messing with my head. Lyra blinked slowly. I cannot help it, she said. My voice affects humans in strange ways. Another explosion shook the ground behind them. Dust and smoke filled the air again. The enemy soldiers were getting closer, and soon Ethan would have to fight. He looked at the princess again, confused, afraid, and frustrated. What do you want from me? He asked. Why come here now? Lyra's glowing eyes locked on his. To save your life, she whispered. And because the war is about to change forever. Before Ethan could speak again, she reached out, grabbed his arm, and pulled him deeper into the ruins. Her touch was warm, gentle, and far too distracting. But he followed because he had no choice. Because the enemy was closing in. And because somewhere deep inside, he felt that everything was about to get much worse. Ethan followed Princess Lyra through the broken halls of an abandoned Vorax bunker. Dust fell from the cracked ceilings, and old metal doors hung crooked on their frames. The bunker was silent, too silent, as if the war outside could not reach this place. But Ethan knew danger was close. He could hear distant footsteps of enemy soldiers hunting through the ruins. Every small sound made him tighten his grip on the rifle. Lyra walked in front of him with calm steps. Her glowing white hair lit the dark hallway like a soft lantern. She did not look afraid, even though her own soldiers were searching for them. Ethan did not understand her at all. A princess from the enemy side should run away from any human soldier. But she stayed close to him, almost guiding him. Almost protecting him. They stopped behind a fallen metal door. Lyra raised a finger to her lips, telling him to stay quiet. Ethan listened. He could hear the muffled voices of Vorax troops passing nearby. The soldiers sounded frustrated, searching for something or someone. Then the voices moved away again, fading into the distance. When the danger was gone, Lyra turned back to Ethan with a small smile. You see, she whispered softly. They want you, not me. Ethan shook his head, confused and tired. How is that possible? He said quietly. I'm just a soldier, I don't know anything important. Lyra stepped closer and placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. Her touch made his mind feel warm and strange again. Your mind remembers something, she said. Something you saw during the peace talks, something my people want to hide. Ethan tried to think back. He remembered the peace meeting room, the long tables, the maps, the tense conversations. But nothing felt important enough to chase him for. What did I see? He whispered. What am I forgetting? Princess Lyra looked at him with a thoughtful expression. That is the problem, she whispered. You cannot remember because someone erased the memory. Ethan's eyes widened. Erased, he repeated. Who did that? Lyra hesitated for a moment, as if she did not want to say the name. Then she whispered. The Vorax High Council. Ethan felt a hard shock in his chest. He knew the Vorax Council was powerful, strict, and feared by their own people. If they had erased his memory, that meant the truth was big and dangerous. What did I see? He said again. Tell me. She shook her head gently. I cannot tell you yet. But I can help you remember. Ethan leaned back against the cold wall. His mind felt heavy, full of questions. He looked at the princess again, trying to understand her motives. What do you get from helping me? He asked. You are risking your life. Lyra looked away for a moment. Her face showed a sadness Ethan had never seen before. I am not loyal to the council anymore, she whispered. I learned the truth about the war, and I cannot ignore it. Ethan took a slow breath. "So you are a traitor to your own people," he said softly. She nodded, not ashamed but tired. "Yes, and that is why they want me dead." Her voice trembled slightly, something rare for her. "But they want you alive." Ethan could not understand any of this. "Why would they want me alive?" he whispered. "What secret could I possibly know?" Lyra raised her hand and touched the side of his face gently. Her fingers were warm and soft, and again his thoughts blurred. "Your mind is tied to mine," she whispered. "That is why my voice affects you." Ethan blinked, confused. "Tied," he repeated. "What does that mean?" The princess stepped back and looked at her hands as if searching for the right words. "My species has a natural resonance," she explained. "Our voices can touch the minds of others, but only certain humans feel it strongly." Ethan felt a cold shiver run through him. "And I'm one of those humans," he whispered. "That's why I lose focus when you talk." She nodded slowly. "Yes, your mind reacts to me, and that reaction helped you during the peace talks. You heard something you were not supposed to hear." Ethan's heart beat faster. "What did I hear?" he asked again. "Please, you have to tell me." Lyra shook her head firmly. "You must remember it on your own, or the council will sense my influence. If they feel me guiding your memories, they will find us." Suddenly the ground shook as another explosion hit somewhere above them. Dust rained down, and Ethan heard metal collapse in the distance. The war was getting closer again. Lyra grabbed his arm, her eyes sharp and urgent. "We must move," she said quickly. "They will find this bunker soon." Ethan nodded and followed her deeper into the underground tunnels. His legs felt heavy from fear and confusion. But he stayed close because he had no choice. Because she seemed to know what she was doing. And because every step made him feel that his forgotten memory was pulling him towards something bigger. Something dangerous. Something world-changing. As they moved through the dark tunnel, Lyra whispered. "I will help you remember when we are safe. But you must stay close to me, Ethan Hale." Ethan swallowed hard. Her voice made his thoughts warm and blurry again. But he still asked the question that bothered him the most. "Why are you helping me?" Lyra stopped walking and looked back at him. Her eyes glowed softly in the darkness. "Because you are the only one who can end this war," she whispered. "And because I cannot lose you." Her words left Ethan breathless. And somewhere in the darkness, unseen by both of them, footsteps echoed closer. The sound of footsteps grew louder behind them, echoing through the long tunnel like rolling thunder. Ethan felt his heart jump as he turned to look over his shoulder. Shadows moved at the far end of the passage, fast and sharp. The Vorik soldiers had found the bunker. There was no more time to hide. Princess Lyra grabbed Ethan's wrist and pulled him forward. "We must run," she whispered urgently. Her voice was soft but filled with fear, something Ethan had never heard from her before. He followed her as they sprinted through the cracked tunnel. Metal pipes rattled overhead with every explosion from the surface. The ground shook beneath their feet. It felt like the whole structure could collapse at any moment. Ethan's breath came out in short gasps. He was tired, wounded, and confused. But he pushed himself to keep running. He had no idea where Lyra was taking him. He only knew that stopping meant death. The tunnel finally opened into a large underground chamber. Broken machines, old energy cells, and shattered glass covered the floor. It looked like an abandoned research facility. Lights flickered weakly on the walls, creating long twisted shadows. Lyra stopped for a moment and looked around. "There should be an exit on the far side," she said quietly. "We can reach the lower valley from there." Ethan nodded, but his attention went to the weapons racks on the walls. Most were empty, but he spotted a small energy shield unit lying on the floor. He grabbed it quickly and strapped it to his left arm. Lyra watched him with a curious look. "You always prepare," she whispered. That is good. Before Ethan could respond, plasma shots fired from the tunnel behind them. Bright blue sparks scattered across the chamber wall. The enemy had caught up. Move, Ethan shouted. He pushed Lyra forward as he fired back at the shadows. Red light from his rifle flashed through the darkness. He did not know if he hit anyone, but it bought them a few seconds. Lyra led him through a maze of broken equipment. Her steps were light and fast, almost floating. Ethan struggled to keep up, his armor heavy and loud. But he refused to fall behind. He refused to let her face danger alone. They reached a sealed metal door at the far end of the chamber. Lyra raised her hand, and the panel beside the door glowed in response. Her species had a natural connection to Voric's technology. Her touch alone could open certain locks. The door slid open with a low growl. Cold air rushed in from the passage beyond. Inside, she whispered. Ethan stepped through, and Lyra followed right behind him. The door closed just as plasma shots hit it from the other side. Metal sparked and burned. The soldiers were only seconds away from breaking through. The passage ahead sloped downward. It was narrow, dark, and filled with dust. Ethan activated the small flashlight on his helmet. The beam cut through the shadows, revealing a long spiral path. Where does this go? He asked. To the valley, Lyra said softly. It is a forgotten escape route from the old research labs. They moved quickly down the passage. The air grew colder with every step. Ethan's breath turned pale in the dim light. He could hear distant rumbling above them. The war on the surface was still raging. Every boom reminded him of how small they were in this giant conflict. After several minutes of walking, the passage ended at a metal grate. Beyond it, Ethan could see faint moonlight and the dark valley below. Lyra pressed her hand to the lock, and the grate slid upward. Cold night wind washed over them, carrying the distant smell of burning metal. Ethan stepped out first, scanning the area with his rifle ready. The valley was quiet, covered in silver grass that swayed gently in the cold wind. It looked peaceful, but Ethan knew that peace on this planet never lasted long. Lyra walked beside him, wrapping her arms around herself as the wind blew harder. Her long white hair fluttered behind her like a pale flame. Ethan glanced at her and asked softly. Are you cold? She shook her head slowly. Not cold, she whispered. Just, afraid. Ethan stopped walking. It was the first time he had heard fear in her voice. What are you afraid of? He asked. Your people. Lyra looked at him with a sad expression. Yes, and no, she said quietly. They are dangerous, that is true. But I fear something else too. Ethan waited for her to continue. The wind blew gently between them. Finally she said. I fear what you will remember. Ethan felt a cold weight settle in his chest. What could I remember that scares you? He whispered. Lyra looked away, her voice trembling. Something that will change everything for humans and Vorics. Something that will change you. Before Ethan could ask more, a sudden roar echoed through the valley. Lights shot up from the far ridge. Enemy drones burst into the sky like angry insects. They had been detected again. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm tightly. They are not supposed to be here, she whispered. They are tracking your mind signature. Ethan felt ice run down his spine. My mind, he said slowly. How is that possible? Lyra looked at him with deep regret. Because you carry the memory they erased, she whispered. And now they want it back. The drones began diving toward them with blazing lights. Ethan raised his rifle. Lyra held out her hand, her eyes glowing bright. The wind howled through the valley. And the Real chase began. Ethan and Princess Lyra ran through the silver grass of the valley. The drones whirred and glowed behind them like angry stars. Ethan's heart pounded, and sweat ran down his face. He fired his rifle whenever he could, but the drones moved too fast. Lyra's glowing eyes guided him through the uneven ground. She seemed to know the safest path, the one that would keep them alive. Finally, they reached a hidden cave entrance beneath an ancient cliff. The opening was narrow, almost invisible among the stones. Lyra pressed her hand to a strange symbol carved into the rock. The entrance slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the cave was dark but surprisingly large. Old machinery and holographic screens flickered weakly on the walls. It was a secret Vorix chamber, hidden from both armies. Ethan's eyes widened as he looked around. "What is this place?" he asked. Lyra stepped forward and touched a glowing panel. "This is where the truth is kept," she whispered. "The real reason this war started." Ethan felt his stomach tighten. "I thought it was just about territory," he said. "I thought it was about humans trying to expand and Vorix defending their planet." Lyra shook her head. "No," she said softly. "The Council lies, always. They used lies and manipulation to create war. They needed both sides to fight, to weaken each other. They used technology to erase memories and control minds." Ethan's mind spun. "Control minds," he repeated. "You mean the peace talks, the things I cannot remember?" Lyra nodded. "Yes," she said. "Your memory was erased to hide the Council's plan. Your presence here now, with me, is dangerous for them. They want the truth back, and they will do anything to get it." Ethan looked around at the holographic screens. They showed maps of planets, secret weapons, and files labeled with human names. His own name appeared on one of them, highlighted in red. He felt a cold shock run through his body. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why target me specifically?" Lyra placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Because you remember what really happened," she said. "You are one of the few humans who saw the Council's secret technology in action. You saw the experiments, the weapons, the manipulation. And now you carry that knowledge in your mind." Ethan clenched his fists. "This is insane," he whispered. "The Council wants to erase it from me, and the war is just a distraction." Lyra nodded. "Yes," she said. "The war is only a mask. A mask to hide their corruption. They caused both sides to fight, to destroy each other slowly. But you can stop it," she whispered. "You are the key." Ethan looked at her, confused and afraid. "How?" he asked. "I am just a soldier." Lyra reached for a holographic display. She pressed a few symbols, and images of battle strategies, control rooms, and alien mind devices appeared. "These are the records the Council wants to hide," she whispered. "You can release them to both armies. You can show the soldiers the truth." Ethan swallowed hard. "And if I do that," he asked, "what will happen?" Lyra looked at him seriously. "Some will be angry," she said. "Some will refuse to believe it. But the war will stop. Because humans and Vorix will know they were manipulated." Ethan felt a heavy weight lift from his chest. For the first time, he saw hope. He looked at Lyra. "You are helping me because you believe in peace," he said softly. "And because you are not loyal to the Council." She smiled faintly. "Yes," she whispered. "But also because I cannot let them take your life. You are the only one who can stop this madness." Suddenly, the cave shuddered as a distant explosion shook the rocks outside. The drones had followed them. Ethan raised his rifle, ready to fight. But Lyra placed her hand on the wall, and a hidden force field activated, blocking the entrance. The drones hovered outside, unable to enter. "You see," she whispered. "My presence protects us in ways the Council does not expect." Ethan stared at her, amazed. "You've been protecting me this whole time," he said slowly. "And all this teasing, all your distractions." Lyra looked at him with glowing eyes. It was never just teasing, she said softly. It was to shield you, to keep you alive until you were ready to see the truth. Ethan felt his mind spin with the weight of the revelation. Everything he thought he knew about the war, the princess, and even himself was changing. He realized now that Lyra's teasing, her strange influence, and her presence were all part of a careful plan. A plan to prepare him for the truth. And for the choice he would have to make next. Outside, the war continued. Explosions shook the distant horizon. But inside the secret chamber, Ethan and Lyra stood together, ready to face the truth. And ready to change the fate of both their worlds. Ethan and Princess Lyra emerged from the hidden cave into the moonlit valley. The war still raged on the horizon. Explosions painted the sky in red and orange. Smoke rose from distant cities. And the cries of soldiers echoed faintly in the night. But Ethan no longer felt paralyzed by fear. He carried the truth in his mind. And he knew the council's lies had to be exposed. Lyra led him to the ruins of an old communications tower. The metal structure was half collapsed. But inside, a functioning control room remained. Holographic screens flickered with ancient Vorex technology. Ethan's pulse raced as he realized what he could do here. This is it, Lyra whispered. The place to show the truth to everyone. The first challenge came immediately. Council guards and elite soldiers appeared at the base of the tower. They moved silently and efficiently. Ethan gripped his rifle tightly. Lyra's glowing hands activated defensive shields around them. Her eyes shimmered as energy spread outward. The shields deflected laser fire with bright flashes. But the enemies were persistent. They climbed the tower, forcing Ethan and Lyra to fight step by step. Ethan fired at the guards while moving behind Lyra. Her voice echoed softly in his mind, keeping him focused. Every shot he fired found its mark. But Lyra also used her abilities to confuse the guards. Whispers and soft sounds made them hesitate, giving Ethan the chance to push them back. It was a perfect combination of strategy, skill, and alien power. Together, they were unstoppable. Finally, they reached the top of the tower. The control panels glowed softly under Lyra's touch. Ethan approached the main console. His hands hovered over the controls. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked. He nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "It's time." He activated the broadcasting sequence. Holographic screens appeared above the valley. The council's secret files, experiments, and manipulations were displayed for all to see. Soldiers and citizens from both sides looked up in shock. They could not deny the truth. The lies were gone. The mind control devices, the memory erasures, the hidden weapons, they were all exposed. Chaos spread among the armies. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Confusion filled the ranks. But Ethan's voice echoed over the broadcast. "This war is a lie," he said loudly. "It was created to control us, to make us fight each other. Look at the truth, and see what the council has done." On the other side, Lyra used her influence to amplify the broadcast. Her glowing eyes shone like twin moons. Her voice touched the minds of soldiers, calming them. Her presence reminded them of reason. Of peace. And slowly, the fighting stopped. Soldiers hesitated, lowered their weapons, and turned to each other. Humans and Vorex alike. They saw the truth and realized they were being used. The council tried to fight back. Elite assassins appeared. Lasers streaked across the tower. But Ethan and Lyra were ready. They fought together with precision. Every movement synchronized. Every strike calculated. And with one final push, the council's guardians were defeated. The broadcast continued, unstoppable. Ethan turned to Lyra. "You did all of this for me," he whispered. Her glowing eyes softened. "It was never just for you," she said. "It was for everyone. But I couldn't risk losing you before the truth was revealed. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. All the teasing, all the distractions, all the moments she made him lose focus. They were never careless. They were protection. They were guidance. He understood now. And he smiled faintly. You were always trying to save me, he said softly. Lyra nodded. Yes, she whispered. And now, the war can finally end. Across the valley, soldiers dropped their weapons. They turned toward each other, uncertain at first. But then they nodded. They started helping each other. Human and Vorex alike. The war that had raged for months began to dissolve. Bridges of understanding formed. Old enemies now saw the truth. Ethan looked at Lyra. Her hair glowed in the soft light of the moon. Her eyes shimmered. And he realized that the princess who teased him in the middle of the war had become his ally. His partner. And perhaps something more. Together, they watched as the first signs of peace spread across the battlefield. Buildings that were once burning were now silent. Soldiers shared water and food. Humans helped Vorex soldiers. Vorex helped humans. The impossible alliance had begun. Because the truth had set them free. Ethan turned to Lyra one last time that night. You really are remarkable, he said softly. She smiled faintly. And you are brave, she whispered. I think we make a good team. The wind swept through the valley, carrying the quiet hum of hope. The war was over. At least for now. And somewhere between the ruined cities and the silver grass, two worlds had begun to understand each other. Because one human soldier and one alien princess had dared to see the truth. And act on it. Ethan and Lyra stood together, looking at the rising sun. A new day, a new beginning. And the future of humanity and Vorex felt brighter.